The course that I teach is a graduate level online course called Interdisciplinary Care of Children with Special Health Care Needs. And it's a course that is designed to provide students with an introduction to the care of children who have chronic illness, and to give them a sense of their care and their care coordination. And it's really across systems, so in the community and in schools and neighborhoods, and then also across developmental levels. So we take a child from infancy all the way through adolescence. The course is unique because it's interdisciplinary. So we have students from all different disciplines. We have nursing and medicine, respiratory therapy, pharmacy, social work, nutrition, many different disciplines. So that really is unique and brings a strength to the course. And we also have students who come from a variety of different educational backgrounds. So we have respiratory therapy students who are working on an associate degree, and we have nursing students who have an associate degree and working towards their bachelor's. And then we have your typical undergraduates and graduate students that you would see on campus. And we also have physicians who are working on a pediatric pulmonary fellowship. So it's a really big array of students, which makes it challenging for the instructor to make sure that the course content is pertinent and interesting and that you're engaging students. But it also is a real plus that we have these students with a lot of different educational backgrounds, professional backgrounds, brings a lot to the course. Well, the course has always been taught online, and in recent years it's needed some work, and that's been recognized through student evaluations and so forth. So we went through a pretty extensive process of redesign. That lasted about 7 months, and it was the Pediatric Pulmonary Center team and I worked together. We had retreats and really had an opportunity to think about this course as a whole and design it as a whole, which was a real advantage. And we involved students in that process as well. I think there are huge benefits to this course being taught online, and there are huge benefits to students. As I said earlier, we have some non-traditional students in the course. Many of them are working, so working full-time or working part-time, and have families. And so this fits into their lifestyle. They're able to take it. We also have students who are at a distance. We've had students out of state, New York, able to take the course because it's online, and students from throughout Wisconsin. So they're able to come in and participate in the course and really get as much out of it as anyone else. And I think these are probably students who we would not have in our program if it weren't for this course being online. I think there's also an advantage to students because they have the sort of the disadvantage and the benefit of having to think before they answer questions. So we have a big component of the course that's a discussion. And based on the materials for the module, we come up with questions that we think are going to generate some discussion. And so students will post their answers to those discussion questions. But in a face-to-face environment, you can raise your hand and kind of come off with what's on the top of your head. But when you're on an online environment, you really need to formulate things a little bit more. You need to think about them. You need to write them down. You need to make a coherent argument. I ask that students bring in citations and references so that they have some thought behind what they're saying. So it's more work for the student, but I think we get some really good answers and really good discussion based on that. In order to keep students engaged in learning and interested in this course, and for them to come on and check their course online frequently, we do a number of different things to kind of keep them interested. One of them is that the lectures are short. We have lectures in the course. They're videotaped, PowerPoint, voiceover PowerPoints, but they're all 20 minutes or less, so they're short. Students can watch it and they don't have to be tied to their laptop for a great length of time or through their computer. The other thing we do is that the students can, we provide an MP4 audio clip of the lectures, so they can download that and they can listen to it in the car on the way to work or on the walk to school. So that gives them some different ways that they can access the material. And we make use of the web. There's a lot of good information on the web, and so we can kind of seamlessly put that into our course. We can do links to websites and links to videos as part of the activities for the course for them to explore and to report back. And the other thing that's unique about this course is that we've filmed 3 case study videos. And this follows a child from infancy through adolescence in the course and presents 3 different, so the child's at 3 different developmental stages, and we present 3 different scenarios or things that we want students to understand better. So the first one is interdisciplinary team. So we have a filming of an actual disciplinary team that's working, and students can watch that. If they're modeling this behavior for the students, and then they can report back in their discussions sort of the things that they saw there and how they want to discuss that. The second one is on cultural components. And so we have this family is Spanish speaking, and so we have an interpreter who it models for students how an interpreter used in a clinic setting, and family members are there, and so this is a great way for students to observe this sort of thing that they may not get a chance to otherwise. And then the third one is transitioning from pediatric care to adult care, and it shows the different team members and how they interact and make that process very smooth. So it's kind of nice is that we have these three sort of main ideas that we want students to get, and then we also have the child and the family moving through time, through 18 years of time, and so things change, and students can discuss that aspect as well. Well, I think the course, from an instructor standpoint, it's very efficient once you have the course developed and it's there. To move through the semester, things are in place and everything's there. And that's a little bit different than teaching face-to-face, where at least I would spend quite a bit of time the night before a lecture preparing, updating, changing things. In online teaching, you're required to do all that up front. At least that's what I do. And so a lot of the preparation happens before the course starts in the semester, and each module is developed and readings are updated. And so during the semester, once it's up and running, it really is a pretty efficient way of teaching. The other thing that's very nice about teaching online is it gives you a lot of flexibility. So I'm able to access this course anywhere in the world. So if I'm traveling to a conference or other sorts of things, that I can access the course and interact with students as I normally would. They would have no idea where I am or how I'm doing my teaching. And so that's an efficient way to sort of be able to plan your calendar, not have to worry about planning around courses. And then there's the aspect that students can access the course 24/7, which is, that's great. That's efficient for students and efficient for instructors. So I can access, if I have a full day of work and meetings, I can go on the course at night if I want to. That's also a downside because you have to make sure that you're not accessing it 24/7. You have to kind of build some rules in there that for student expectations and for yourself. I don't currently teach face-to-face, but I do guest lectures. And so that has really affected online teaching. How I teach online has really affected how I do those lectures. I think more about me standing in front of a large group and lecturing, and it just doesn't feel quite right anymore. And so I'm more often breaking the class up into smaller pieces as I do online. I'm using media, so accessing video clips and websites and, bringing that to the students. I also will take a large lecture and break it down into smaller groups and have discussion questions like I do online, and have these smaller groups discuss that in a face-to-face way. Well, I think if you're interested in taking a course and having that course be online, some preparation is needed. And you can't just take a course that's face-to-face and put it online and expect to be successful. There's a lot of planning that goes into it. So for instance, for my course, we went through, as I said earlier, a lengthy process. It was about 7 months long, and so there was a lot of planning that went in there. And what's nice about that is we were able to have a vision of what this whole course was going to look like from beginning to end, and then shape each of the different modules so that they met those goals at the end. And somehow when you look at a course that way, it's kind of easier to think about it in the whole. And we involved a lot of people in the process, so we involved our team members on the Pediatric Pulmonary Center. We also involved students, which I think that's a really good idea, to involve students. Often they have taken online courses, and so they very much have an opinion about what they like and what they don't like in courses. And they're really your consumers. So that was very helpful to go to the students and find out their opinion about what the course should be like and what kind of things they like and what they don't like. So what was nice is that I was involved from the beginning with this course. I'm the one teaching it, and I was involved in the entire process of the revision. And so I could look at it, and I had some idea of what works as far as discussions and what sorts of questions work. I had an idea of how much reading is too much reading, how much is too little. So I had some sense of that from my face-to-face courses, and I could put that into this course. So it was nice to be able to be involved from the beginning and have say in how these course modules were going to look. So one piece that's really important is making students feel like they belong to this course and that there's sort of a sense of a group. And we accomplish that in a couple of different ways. One is we divide the course up into groups, smaller groups. So all of their discussions take place within a group of maybe 6 or 7, 5, 6, 7 individuals. So they really get to know each other. And so it's easier for them rather than being in a discussion where everything's typed out from 20 or 25 different people, it's really manageable, a smaller number. The other thing that happens that I think is really interesting and different than face-to-face courses is we have a period of introduction at the beginning where people will type out their background, the typical sorts of things you do in an introduction, why they want to take the course. But it's interesting that people are much more forthcoming online. So in a course, face-to-face course, if you have introductions, you kind of do the basic bare minimum uncomfortably and people go around in a circle and that's the end of it. But it's been very interesting how much people share online, and I don't really know exactly why that is. But I think we know much more about each other than we would have if we were in a face-to-face course, which is really interesting. And that kind of sets the tone for things, I think, is that people really know each other and know their backgrounds and their difficulties and their challenges. So we have the discussion groups for students to do their talking to each other. But what really is important too is the questions that you ask to spur that talking. So if you ask kind of boring questions, you'll get boring answers, and there's not a whole lot for them to do. So how you craft the questions is really important. And sometimes you think you've got an engaging question and you can kind of see it's a dud. And then you may need to step in there and prompt things. But I would encourage people to really think about the questions that they're asking online. I think that whole process really spurs this sense of community and really spurs learning as they're talking about and discussing things with their classmates.